Well, now we're on the last section of your general principles and ethics and code. I got this new little machine that makes noises, and so I'm excited. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get it done. And let's talk about free insurance. Well, you need to know that we cannot going around giving away free insurance as an inducement to get someone to purchase real or personal property. Now, you're going to come across this, and I believe a lot of agents and people are not aware, where an escrow officer will say, well, as part of my deal for being your real estate agent, I'm sorry, not escrow officer, your real estate agent, I will pay for your insurance on your new home. Well, they have a dollar amount in mind, and they tell the escrow company $500, who then sends an order to an agent. Well, they're not getting the proper policy. They're getting a stripped down policy. That whole transaction is illegal, and you could end up losing your license over it. So you cannot offer free insurance as an inducement. Now, sales and loans. When it comes to sales and loans, you look for the phrases voluntary selection or free choice, because what it's saying is a lender cannot require you to pick a particular agent or insurer as a condition to get a loan. So it doesn't matter what the loan documents say. You have free choice irrespectively of whatever the loan says in California. And if you violate somebody's choice or voluntary selection, that's another way of saying it, your license will be suspended. The second paragraph, up there, it has to do with your lenders. And unless you sign a particular piece of paper, your lender can sell the information in your insurance policy. So your clients may get a letter saying, policy such and such number, you really don't want that one, here's ours offering more coverage and less money. It's not done much lately, but it was done a lot in the late 90s and early 2000s. Now then, when it comes to cars, purchasing a car and they're financing the insurance, or they're saying it's free insurance, it's a whole nother set of rules. Simply meaning they have to have a statement so they know that they have free choice. Second of all, it has to be broken out so they know if they have liability, comp, and collision, and a premium for each one. And then they have to state how long the policy is in effect. Now, then remember binders. Now, binders gets people with a little bit of experience messed up. And what it is most of your companies' binders are only good for 30 days, not on the test. It's 90 days, so binders are effective up to 90 days. Now, they'll switch this and say binders can be extended. So binders with the Department of Insurance can be extended another 60 days beyond that 90 days. And that would make a binder in force for a maximum period of 150 days total. Then you'll have another question that says, maximum of binder, that's $1 million, and you cannot issue binders for life insurance or basically disability policies. Make it real simple. If it has medical questions, we do not have the ability to bind because we're not doctors. Now, the commissioner can suspend your license for issuing a binder without authority. Then you're going to get questions on shall and may. Well, shall, when it's in the code, says mandatory, which is a must. May means permissive, which is a can. So normally I tell my students, you shall pass this test and you may contact me for assistance. Now, person under the code, I already touched on it, is going to be any individual, which means a human being or natural person. All of that is for an individual. or any kind of entity. So a corporation, a partnership, association, any of those can also be licensed as property casualty broker agents, personal lines broker agent, life agent, or A&H agent. Now there's a question that goes on to the life side just using the definition of person. Would the definition of a person include the estate of someone who is deceased? The answer is yes. They just can't get a license, but it's still considered a person. Now, requirements for notice by mail. We never have to prove the client received something. We only have to prove we mailed it. So when the test says postage prepaid, it just means we're going to mail it to the insured, last known mailing address. Postage prepaid means no postage due. We just have to prove we mailed it. We do not have to prove that they received it. And what happens here is we can't go around accepting anything for any type of gratuity for sending anybody for any repairs that would be covered under your auto policy, and they can break it down on what that includes. Now, when it also comes to your auto policy, and this can show up on the life and health, in the state of California, we cannot tell someone where to take their vehicle. If they ask, we can tell them about what we call sometimes pro shops, or shops that the insurance companies have contractual deals with. But in doing so, immediately we have to tell them, but hey, you can go anywhere you want. And in 5 days of making the statement, they get a piece of paper, a disclosure form saying you can also take it anywhere you want. The advantage, though, is taking it to one of the insurance company shops, is you get a lifetime warranty on the works as long as it's not a mechanical part that would wear out. So you can get a lifetime warranty on the paint job that they did. But if the client decides they want to take it to another shop, that is certainly their prerogative. However, we don't guarantee the work. Now we're going to come up on the next section. And on the next section has to do with fair claims practices, which comes under the California Code of Regulations, meaning CCRs. And what happens here is under the CCRs, you're going to have where an insurance company has to give within 40 days, accept or deny a claim in a whole or part. If they suspect fraud, it could be up to 80 days, but we have to keep them notified of the progress every 30 days. Now, if the insurer needs more time, we simply notify the claimant that we need more time. The next one is if the producer must immediately or within 21 calendar days respond to any DOI requests concerning claim information. But when it comes to the insurance companies, they only have 15 days to respond to the client or respond to the DOI. And no insurer can make a settlement offer that is unreasonably low. And last but not least, once everyone is in agreement, then we have to get a check out to the claimant within 30 days. But remember, let's take it to like a plane crash. It could take 15 years to get everybody involved into agreement. Once in agreement, then what will happen here is there's 30 days to cut the check. Now, your false and fraudulent claims articles just simply means, where do we have the fraud? The answer is auto. We have fraud in workers' comp, and we have fraud in the health insurance industry. Now, what happens here is when we come down to fraud situations, whether it is us to deny a claim or for somebody seeking, we can't make false or fraudulent statements. We cannot present false or fraudulent information to oppose or support any claim for compensation or to deny compensation. We can't assist anyone who is engaging in an unlawful act under this section. And if we do, the fine is 1 to 5 years. imprisonment. Anytime it's up to 1 year, that's county jail. 5 years at state, or a fine up to $150,000 or twice the value of the fraud. Now, a lot of times they give you numbers and you add them up. If it totals less than $150,000, then double it to see if it goes over $150,000. If it does, the answer you want to choose is 2 times whatever it added up to. Now, you can get either the fine or imprisonment or both. And if this DA decides to prosecute you, it can be an additional fine up to $10,000 and up to 1 year in county jail. If you've had previous convictions, then 2 years are added to your sentence for each prior conviction. The next part of this is going to be every insurance company must have a fraud unit to investigate fraudulent claims submitted by their insureds or against their insureds. With this question, you have to watch your ERs and your EDs, meaning sometimes it says fraud committed by the insurer. No, it's the fraud unit is to investigate fraud by the claimants or the clients or your insureds. Now, when it comes to refunding money, if there's any unearned premium that must be returned, the insurer has 25 days to get it to the agent or send it directly to the insured. If it goes to the agent, they have an additional 15 days to get it to the insured. So that means if it goes to the agent first, there is a 40-day turnaround. Whomever is late in this transaction owes the client a 10% penalty of the refund. Now, can we offset in your property and casualty? In other words, they're getting a refund on auto. Can we apply it to their homeowners that is due? The answer is yes, as long as it's the same insured. Now, let's talk about unfair discrimination. We cannot go around discriminating when it comes to accepting apps, issuing policies, or canceling something just based on someone's marital status, sex meaning gender, race, color, religion, national origin, ancestry. They've used the word creed before. Nor can we use any of those factors to charge a person a higher premium. But we do discriminate, and we discriminate on age and sex, meaning gender, in life and health products. Excuse me, life, health, and disability, because we can actuarially prove the difference between males and females. Now, we can ask someone where were they born, but it can only be for identification. It cannot be used to discriminate. And genetic traits, because you carry a gene that can be passed to your offspring, or you have it that could affect you, that cannot be a factor unless it is actually affecting you. Now, even on your property and casualty and personal lines test, you can get a question concerning, can we, okay. In other words, if an insurer is going to rate or refuse a policy, meaning a life, annuity, or disability policy, then due to an impairment, whether it's physical or mental, it has to be based on sound actuarial principles or a reasonably anticipated experience. All right, so what that means here is this. If someone was hospitalized last year twice for a high-grade fever of an unknown origin, well, we would simply, that's reasonable to deny someone. Obviously, they're sick, we just haven't figured it out. And you can't go around rating somebody just because they're blind or partially blind for life or annuities or disability or health products, because blindness does not affect mortality, nor does it affect morbidity. Now, ethics, that can't be taught, even if you have it or you don't. So let me explain what shows up on the test as unethical behavior. So you're likely to act unethically if you hang around with unethical agents. You're likely to act unethically if you're under sales pressure. It is unethical to use insurance jargon with your clients. You're supposed to use language that they can understand. It is unethical to make the client ask a question twice. It is unethical not to return phone calls. These are going to be the things that will show up. Now, what happens here is you're more likely to be acting in an ethical manner if you do the last little bullets that I put in there, because they always show up, like put the client's interests first, know your job and continue to increase your level of competence. Then identify customers' needs and recommend products to their needs, not what's the hottest product on the market or what you make the most commission on. Use simple language they can understand. Provide excellent service. Keep informed, obey all insurance laws. Lack of knowledge or ignorance is not a defense in our industry. Stay in touch with your customers. Conduct periodic coverage reviews. Accurately and truthfully represent products. That's going to show definitely on the life side. You do not have to call life insurance anything other than life insurance. And then protect the confidential relationship of your client. You can't go around boasting that Mr. Big Shot over here is my client without their permission. And please, this is personal, do not go around and make unfair and inaccurate remarks about the competition. We will never be considered white-collar professionals if we keep having rallies saying we're bigger, better, best, better than the rest, and everybody's scumbags except for us. That just doesn't work. By association, it makes us all scumbags. And if you think about it, you do not hear doctors, attorneys, or accountants, or anyone else that we consider white-collar professionals bashing their own industry publicly. All right, now that you've taken the time to go over the questions, let's sit down and let's review them. Number one, what action would the insurance commissioner most likely take if the violation dealt with loans on security or real or personal property? And sometimes they would throw in a code number. That is just to get you upset. It means what the commissioner is likely to do, no matter what we do wrong, is issue a cease and desist order. Now, if you need help spelling that because I'm not pronouncing it correctly, it is CEASE and A-N-D, desist, D-E-S-I-S-T. Think of back in the old movies where they used police officers. They would yell cease and desist so they wouldn't shoot you. Now, let's go to number 2. According to the code, the word may is intended to be permissive. Remember, shall is mandatory. Then, number 3 here, the CCRs, or meaning the regulations, governing claim settlement practice prohibits the following as acts of unfair discrimination when denying claims: gender, income, reckless behavior, and physical handicap. Well, it's false because we can use reckless behavior to deny a claim. We cannot use gender, income, or physical handicap. Now let's go to number 4. And number 4 is, what is it called when an insurer uses higher rates based solely on religion, race, or ethnic grouping? That would be considered unfair discrimination. Your next question would be, according to the code, every insurer must maintain a fraud unit to investigate fraudulent claims from or against insureds. Now be careful because, like I said, they might say insurers. No, it's insureds. 6, according to the code, which class of insurance cannot issue a binder? Life would be the answer. And 7, the commissioner has the right to suspend or revoke an insurance license for issuing a binder without authority. True. Binders are good for up to $1 million, according to the code. True. And a person who diverts or misappropriates fiduciary funds is guilty of a misdemeanor. Now, committing an act of discrimination, whether it be fair or unfair, is always a violation of the code. That is false because you underline the word always. Because if you remember, we do discriminate in life, health, and disability based on age and gender. Now, the next one is going to be if the insurer paid $25,000, $45,000, and $15,000 in fraudulent claim, the fine would be, well, let's total it up, $85,000. Now remember, we can fine up to $150 or twice the value of the fraud. So what we do is we multiply this by 2 and it comes to $170. Acts for a license to be rescinded are conviction of a felony, displaying lack of integrity, holding a non-resident license, or misstating information on the license application. Now, what happens here is that statement is false because they cannot rescind your license just because you have a non-resident license. Once you get licensed in another state, let's say Nevada, and you want to also sell in California, you simply apply and pay the fees. Now, if conviction of a felony, they could pull your license without a hearing. Displaying lack of integrity, they will have to give you a hearing. And misstating information on your application, they will discuss it with you. So I'm not sure if it's a formal hearing, but all of those would be reasons. Now 14, according to the code, all areas of insurance are problematic for fraud. It would be health insurance, auto, workers' comp, and personal liability. That's false because it's not personal liability, just the other 3. And now we are finally done with all the general and ethics and code. It's not my favorite either, but remember on every test it is 33% of your test. So it is important that you get it down. So we are all done.